Hey y'all, it's Bethany here. Welcome back to my channel, Bethany Brings Books. I am going to be doing a recent reads today, just talking about several books that I have recently finished. So I am excited to talk about these books. I have been reading actually quite a bit, at least it feels that way to me. So first of all, I just want to talk about this book that I have read. What is it, kitty? My kids found this kitten. This random kitten came up in our yard, and it was tiny when it first came up. It's a little bit bigger now, but it stays outside, but we've been feeding it, and sometimes the kids want to bring it in. So they brought it in a while ago. Poor little thing. It was probably like 5 weeks old when we first found it. It was so tiny. We came home from church one night, and it was in our front yard meowing. And we've been feeding it ever since. I guess it wants to join me in here. Anyway, so I want to talk about this. I finished reading this. I've been reading this a while, and I finished reading it. It's Getting to the Other Side of Grief, Overcoming the Loss of a Spouse. I did enjoy this. I think I gave it 4 stars. Overall, I think it was definitely helpful to me. Just some of the things they said, realizing, what is it? You want to sit in my lap? Is that what it is? Do you want to sit in my lap? You can sit there. I think it was helpful to me, just kind of figuring out where I'm at in the grieving process, as it's been over 3.5 years since my husband passed away. And I know for traumatic death and death that deals with trauma, it can take longer than normal to heal, and I feel like that's definitely been the case with me. Some of the things they talked about in this book, I feel like I'm 3.5 years in just now getting to, and so I appreciated that perspective. I found just a lot of helpful things in it. I'm glad I read it, and it's definitely made me want to read more books on grieving. It helped me process some things and some of the things that I've how I've dealt with things, and it was just interesting. And I know this obviously is, most of y'all watching this book isn't going to be applicable to you, so I'm not going to say a ton about it. Just say that I did read it and I enjoyed it. Both of the authors were widowed, and then they married each other later. So yeah, I did enjoy this, and I enjoy it, but I found it helpful. I read Pride and Prejudice, and if y'all have been watching my vlogs, you already know I have 2 vlogs, part 1 and part 2, talking about watching it, reading it, and watching the BBC adaptation, and just doing all the Jane Austen things. So I will show y'all the edition I read out of. This edition, my sister-in-law actually gave this to me a few years ago for Christmas, and so I decided to read out of this one. It is a modern library classic. I think it probably originally had a dust jacket, but yes, I loved this so much, y'all. Just absolutely so much. I raved about it on my 2 vlogs, 1 and 2, and I hope y'all go watch them, and just y'all will hear me talk more about it. I'm not going to talk about it a ton on here just because I've already talked about it so much. But yes, I gave this 5 stars, and eventually I'm going to do a video, probably maybe in August. We'll see how busy it is in August with my kids starting school and stuff, but ranking all of the Jane Austens, because my plan is to read in July, to read Sense and Sensibility. So at that point, I want to rank all of her main works that I've read. I thought it would also be kind of fun to rank her leading characters. That would be kind of cool too. Or like, not really rank them, but just give my opinions of all of them. I don't know. I think that would be an interesting video. But yeah, I absolutely loved this. Such an amazing book. I feel like it's definitely, of what I've read, her best work. Objectively, from an objective standpoint, it's just very well written, very cohesive, it flows well. So I think from an objective standpoint, it's definitely her best work. Probably going to be my favorite, but I can't say for sure yet because I still have to read Sense and Sensibility. So and then I finished 3 rom-coms, y'all. I've just totally been reading the rom-coms. I'll put pictures up here because I don't own any of them, but as I was reading Pride and Prejudice, I also wanted to kind of have something on the side. So I have a Kindle app on my phone, so when I'm out and about, I can read, you know, if I'm waiting in line somewhere, or if I'm just somewhere where I have a few minutes of free time, I can read, and it helps me when I do that. I don't do it all the time, but when I do that, it helps me to, I can tell I get more reading done. Kindle Unlimited. So I read, the first book that I read was, all 3 of these were actually on Kindle Unlimited, but the first one was But by Anna Conwell. Earlier this year, I read The Golden Goal, I think was what it was called. And it's a series, I do not remember the name of the series, guys. I'll try to put it up here, but it's basically a sweet rom-com sports theme series, sports romances or whatever. This one is a golf romance, and if I'm being honest, I cannot even remember the names of the main characters. But it was interesting. It was set in Georgia, I believe, and the main female character is working at a coffee shop, and she's trying to save up money to open her own florist. And so her friend suggests this local golfer who's like, he's a well-known golfer. She said he's looking for a new assistant, and so she suggests her for the job, and so she gets the job as his assistant, and she hates golf. There's no reason given for that. She just hates golf, apparently. And of course, when she becomes his assistant, she falls for him and he falls for her, and it's, you know, that sweet fluffy rom-com. And so yes, I thought this one was, if y'all watched my review earlier this year, it's probably way back around the beginning of the year. The first book in this series was quite heavy on the kissing and stuff, which I just thought, I did a video kind of talking about all that, or I talked about all that on one of my videos, and I just had this kind of a rant about it. But it's just a whole side note. It's not that I don't read stuff with kissing, obviously, you know, like, duh. It was just my deal with the heavy kissing, and it's like pretty heavy, and then they just turn it off, and I feel like that's not realistic. And like, if you're gonna write clean romance, don't give people the wrong expectation about what it's gonna be like if you really are kissing like that. I don't know. If you want to see it, just go back. I'll put a link on here if you want to watch that video. Anyway, I'll try to. I always forget to do that. But if not, you can just go back to around the first of the year where I talked about it. But anyway, so yes, that being said, this one I felt like was a lot lighter with all of that. Definitely not as heavy. There's like maybe a couple of kisses. There's a handful of kisses, not a ton. And it was definitely, I feel like, a lot lighter than the other. Of course, it's clean, romantic comedy, so it's not considered Christian, but it is considered clean. There's quite a bit of talk of drinking in it, and like there's several mentions of people being tipsy. So there's that. But that's just content for it, if that's something that you want to be aware of. Overall, it was cute. I didn't rate it. I have a hard time rating these. But yeah, it was just a fun, fluffy read. Yeah, it was what it was. I thought it involves the US Open, which was kind of interesting. I read it, I guess they probably released it that week intentionally, but I read it the week of the US Open. And so then I read, so there's this new series that's releasing this summer, and it's by several different indie published authors. I think Martha Keyes, I think, is one of them. Casey Stockton, Courtney Kiesel, I'm not sure how you say that exactly. Anyway, it's just a bunch of different indie rom-com authors that I have been, ever since I saw that this was coming out, I have been eagerly awaiting to read them because it just looks so perfect for summer. It's the whole series is set on a Florida island and on the like west coast of Florida, like so like the Gulf Coast, I guess, area. So the series follows characters who all live on this island, and we see the characters throughout the series. It focuses on a different main character in each book, but then the side characters, you know, like the main characters are side characters in the other books, if that makes sense. So all the covers look so cute and summer themed, and I'm like, this, when I saw it, I was like, this series looks perfect for summer, especially if I'm not gonna go on a vacation, and I don't think I'm gonna get to. I'm like, this is gonna be my vacation. Reading these books is gonna be my vacation. So I read the first one, and these are also available through Kindle Unlimited, and they're releasing like every week or every 7 to 10 days, I think. So I read the first one, which was Summer Ever After, I think is what it was called, by Courtney Kiesel. I have no idea how you pronounce her last name, but this was my first book by her, and I absolutely loved it. It was just a total blast. It was another golf book, which I didn't realize picking it up, but I actually enjoyed this one much more than the other golf book that I read. I just felt like it was longer, and it was much more developed. I felt like a lot more depth to it, and the characters were more interesting and more fleshed out overall. The story was. I love the setting. So the story is just so funny. It's so funny. So Jenny Hayes has decided that this is the summer that she is going to find true love. And she spends some of her time at a local retirement home. And while she's there, she has a couple of friends that are there too, and they have like a book club with some of the older ladies in the retirement home. And she decides it's going to be the summer of Jenny Hayes. She's going to try to create all of the tropes, the common tropes, because she loves romance. She loves watching and reading romance, and so she thinks, I'm going to try to create all these tropes with the various guys on the island and date to find my true love, because of course it's a small island, so there's only a handful of single men that she thinks would be a good match. So she creates a list of these single men and creates this list of possible tropes to try out, and it's just so cute and funny. It's like adorable. And the secondhand embarrassment was so real in this one, because some of the stuff she does, I'm like, I could never do that. I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing. Oh my goodness. But it was funny. And she's like, all these guys, she's like, and it's not like a weird way of like dating around or anything. It's not like weird like that. It's like she'll go on a date with a guy and she'll try out a trope, and then like it doesn't work. The date doesn't work out. And so, but meanwhile, Walker, I cannot remember his last name, but Walker, who is like a pro golfer, has come back to the island for the summer, and he's struggling with his golfing game. I don't know what the word is, but he's struggling. So he's coming back to the island, to where he grew up, to practice at the local resort there with his original golf mentor or whatever. And so him and Jenny, years ago, Jenny had like this huge secret crush on him that she never told him about. He is her best friend's brother, and so she never told her friend, like when they were young, was like, I don't want any, you can't like my brother, because all the girls like try to get to my brother through me. And like, so she was like, Jenny was like, okay, I'm not gonna, even though I have this crush on her brother, I'm not gonna talk about it. It's not an option, because I don't want to lose her as my friend. He moved away, pursued golf. Now he's back, and like, she can't deny that she is attracted to him. And he's like, he keeps ruining all the tropes too. So like, she keeps trying to do these tropes, and then like he'll come up at most inopportune moment and ruin it, and it's just so funny. It was so funny. It was cute. There was so much banter. I just thought it was hilarious and funny. And just, if you're looking for a summer beach read, like something lighthearted that you could read quickly, then this is it. It's so cute. And I think I gave it 5 stars. I just thought it was great. It is considered clean fiction, so it's closed door. A bit of like a physical noticing what you see like in your typical clean rom-coms, and a few heavier kisses, some I think brief mentions of drinking maybe, I think maybe. Other than that, it's clean, no language or anything like that, so at least not that I recall. So it was cute and it was fun. And then I read the second one in the series, which is called Beachy Keen, and it was by, I think it was by Casey Stockton, and also the first book that I've ever read by her, I believe. Another fun one, this one we follow Kat, who also grew up on the island. Her parents died when she was young, and she has a run-in with a billionaire who grew up on the island. His family is kind of like the Kardashians, not really like the Kardashians, but that's the idea. Like, they're very wealthy and they have their own, like they have their own reality show. Like he don't participate anymore, but his sisters have their own show, and they're like wealthy, elite, rich people. Anyway, so growing up, at one point they both kind of had a crush on each other, but then his sister started to bully her when she was in middle school, so I can't remember his name. So they kind of went their separate ways, and she kind of developed this grudge against the family. Kat and the main guy character, I don't remember his name, they have a run-in on the beach, and he's like back on the island for the summer dealing with anxiety. He has anxiety issues, and he's going through a lot. His parents have been in the process of for years of getting a divorce, and it's very messy, and they like try to drag their kids through it, and he's been told to spend the summer relaxing, and he's like desperate to try to get back to work on his he's like creating a dating app or something. He wants to get back on board as the CEO and stuff and overcome his anxiety. So anyway, him and Kat run into each other, and sparks fly. So Kat actually cleans his family's house, and so later on, she also begins to work for him as his assistant, because he kind of finds out that she desperately needs money for a financial situation. Not only does she clean his house, she works at a bed and breakfast with her uncle, and there's some issues with that they're needing cash. So anyway, she starts to work with him as his assistant, and the sparks fly. There's that. I gave that one 4 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first. I just felt like the characters were a little more fleshed out, more, I don't know, there was something more there for me, like more of a spark, more like the banter more. I don't know what it was, but there's something about it that I enjoyed more. So there I am, reading all these rom-coms. I'm gonna tell y'all what I've been reading as well, what I'm still reading. So I'm reading this Love Overboard by Shannon Sue Dunlap. I am reading this with the Summer by the Sea book club, I think it's the name of it. Old American Spirit is hosting that, and so over on Goodreads, we've been chatting about it, her, and we have several other ladies in the group, and so we've all been chatting about it, and we're reading 5 chapters. She has it set up where if you want to read it like this, you can read 5 chapters a day and then chat on the board about it, the message boards. And so it's been really fun chatting with all the ladies about it. And y'all, this book is I love it. It's so adorable. We're on a cruise ship, and there's these 4 women who call themselves the shippers, and they're elderly, and they live on the ship. Instead of living in a retirement home, they're like, I'm going to live on this cruise ship. But they like to kind of meddle in the lives of the crew members and try to pair them up. And so the main character, Lacey, these ladies are trying to find her perfect match. And so she is a employee on the cruise line, and suddenly back into her life walks John, who is a crew member that they formerly worked together a couple of years ago on another ship, and they kind of dated. They weren't technically dating, they were like dating, not dating, whatever. And all of a sudden, whenever their cruise ends, she leaves and she doesn't come back. She goes and like takes another assignment somewhere else. On this cruise, he has been placed in charge of the cruise. What is it, like the cruise director? I guess. I think that's what it is called. They're back in each other's lives, and he don't understand what happened 2 years ago, like why she never said goodbye or anything. And so he's been brought back onto this ship, but there's this overarching story, a mystery that's taking place where some things are going on the ship that they're trying to figure out what it is. And so all of that ties into the story. These ladies are hilarious. There's so many funny lines and quotes, and just the descriptions are so funny. Let me read y'all on the first page. This description just got me. One of the elderly ladies is talking about the first mate, and she says, his frowsy white blonde hair and pasty complexion combined with his pristine uniform to give him the appearance of a skinny, befuddled ear swab. I was like, that just cracked me up. Oh my goodness. And there's just so many funny quotes in here. It is hilarious. It's so funny. I love it. I can't recommend it enough so far. It's so funny. And there's also a very good faith element all the way through it. So far, I like that the characters are continually talking about like asking God for guidance for different situations, and so I like that as well. So I've also picked up Frankenstein. I've been reading this because I was wanting to try to read another classic before the end of the month, so hopefully I'll get this one finished over the next week. This is one of the classics that I talked about on a video recently that I want to, one of the classics that I want to read that I've never read. So I'm not very far. I think I'm on chapter 2 or chapter 3. I just started chapter 3. And it's interesting so far. Definitely different, starting out different than what I expected, but isn't that cover to me, it's like just vintage, I don't know what to call it. It's a great cover. And then I'm also continuing to read, I think I haven't talked about this in a while, but I've been slowly reading the Ministry of Intercessory Prayer by Andrew Murray. I'm finally getting close to the end. I have about that much left. Really, really enjoying this. I would highly recommend this book to any Christian. It has definitely really changed over the past week or two, as I've really been getting into it more. Definitely impacted my prayer life. It's just phenomenal, and it's all done in a way that doesn't make you feel guilty. It doesn't make you feel, I don't want to say guilty, but it doesn't make you feel condemned. It just makes you feel encouraged and inspired to attain to some of these things he talks about in your prayer life. Amazing book. I highly recommend it. I definitely want to be rereading it in the future. If there was one book I would say to read on prayer, this one I think would be a phenomenal one to read on prayer. But yes, I'm definitely enjoying that one. Hey y'all, please excuse the way I look. This is an impromptu video update. I just wanted to update you guys. I have actually finished 3 of the books in this video. So I have like quite a few more books to talk about, but I want to go ahead and post this video. So I'm just going to talk about the 3 that I mentioned on here that I was reading at the time that I have finished. But the first one was Love Overboard. I did finish that one and absolutely loved it. It was so fun. It ended up being more of like a 4 to 4.5 star for me. I think just overall there was a lot going on that, we have 3 different points of view. We have the ladies that call themselves the shippers. We have one main one of them, Emily. And then we had Lacey and John, all their points of view. There was a mystery going on. There was an underlying story about kind of some secrets from John's past, some secrets from Lacey's past. Then we have Emily's point of view, her trying to do the matchmaking. So there was quite a bit going on. So I felt like it was a little bit harder to really get to know Lacey and John. But I really loved it overall. It was so fun. I really had fun reading it with Old American Spirit, her, and her book club that she's doing. So if y'all have not checked out her channel, go check out her channel. And also she's doing a summer book club. So right now we're reading Island of the Blue Dolphins, and next month we'll be reading a different one. So it's been really fun. I'm loving it. And that reading Love Overboard was just so fun. It just overall, it was just funny. It was fun getting to chat about it on Goodreads with all the other ladies who were reading. And I was really excited to find out there's going to be a sequel. So excited about that. But I have not really watched a lot of Golden Girls. I've seen episodes off, like, bits and pieces, but it feels like I've read that it has Golden Girls vibes, and it feels like that just from the shippers. They're so funny. So yes, and towards the end, some of the things that happen as the story wraps up, it was so funny. I was just cracking up, and I just love the author's descriptions and the way she, just some of the funny lines she has. So then I also finished Frankenstein, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the first half a bit more than kind of towards the ending. It got very sad towards the ending, which I was expecting. I knew it was going to be a sad story. He was very melancholy, very depressed. It felt like there was no way for him to get out of the situation he was in. And so that was just, as someone who has struggled with my own mental health issues and dealt with someone who struggled with mental health issues, that was a little bit triggering. I know it's just science fiction, it's not true, but it was still, seeing how depressed he was and feeling like there was no hope was kind of depressing. So there was that. But overall, it was I feel like it just has so many, so it was so profound. Like, there's so much meaning to it. And even as I was reading it, I was wondering, what was her point? Like, what was she trying to relay? Because it feels like there's so many underlying messages to the point that I don't feel like I got them all. And I was trying to figure out, like, what is she trying to relay here? Because it felt like there was so much that I could glean from the story. And really, I think in itself, that it just makes it like a literary masterpiece. Just all of the things. I feel like I could read it and then just think about it for hours and hours and still not grasp all of the things that are in the story. But obviously, yes, in this story we have a man named Frankenstein who creates this creature and brings him to life. And he brings this creature to life, and then the creature he doesn't have anyone else to relate to, so things start happening because of this. And so anyway, it's just interesting. It was very interesting. It kept me interested all the way through. I wish that it would have ended a little differently. Like I said, it was very sad, and I expected that. But I think the biggest takeaway for me with Frankenstein was just all of the messages, so many underlying messages. It felt like that so many things that could be gleaned from it. Really, I feel like you could sit down and just study the book and learn so much from it. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And then I also finished Andrew Murray's Not With Christ in the School of Prayer. I've got Intercessory Prayer, The Ministry of Intercessory Prayer. Phenomenal book, guys. Absolutely phenomenal. It's really impacted the way I've been thinking about prayer, about my focus in prayer, about interceding for others. I highly, 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 highly recommend this one. I would recommend it above any other book that I've ever read on prayer. I think this one for me, has been one of the best ones I've read so far. Obviously I'm not talking about, not my Bible. As far as like a book written on prayer, it's one of the best I've ever read. I loved it. I want to reread it. I highlighted so much of it. So many great things. Just really, really impactful in why we should intercede and pray for others, and the importance of it, and how God has joined himself with us in this and interceding on behalf of others. And just really good, really encouraging, really inspiring me to pray, and particularly change some of the ways I've been praying, to pray more. Just an encouraging read. So I just wanted to give an update before I close out this video. I wanted to make sure that I just wanted to update on those 3 that I did finish. It's because it's been a little bit since I've recorded it, so I wanted to update that. But I have been reading a lot, guys, so I can't wait to have a new video soon talking about everything that I've been reading. So talk to you guys later. Bye.